Interviewing Clyde E. Roach, born in Miami, Florida, on February 8, 1921. He served in World War II in the Army Air Corps and achieved the rank of captain. This is being recorded at his home in Miami, Florida, on June 12, 2008. My name is Stephen Roach, his son, and this interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress. So let's start with your participation in the Normandy invasion and D-Day.
Wow.
Where were you and what was your role in it? And then we'll go back to the beginning after this.
Okay. D-Day. I was stationed at in England, Barkston Heath Aerodrome, near a little town called Grantham. And I was a member of the 53rd Squadron and the 61st Group of Troop Carrier Command. Our job was to dump a lot of paratroopers over Normandy before the soldiers hit the beach. And we've been in England for almost a year training. And we trained with the 82nd Airborne Division and also with the British Airborne. And we had practiced these jumps, towing gliders, snatching gliders, you name it. We had plenty of training. We were ready. And this invasion was scheduled originally for June 5th, but the weather was bad, and they postponed it 24 hours. What I remember about it, we were locked up on the base for 24 hours, nothing moved. And we had a briefing at we took off for this mission, we took off June the 5th about midnight, 72 ship formation. And I was flying co-pilot in the lead ship. Captain Sherman was in charge. We had 3 or 4 extra navigators. They didn't want us to get lost. And well, our route of flight took us out of a zigzag course. Our drop zone was right near St. Mére Église on the Cherbourg Peninsula. But our orders were, if we couldn't get the paratroopers on the drop zone, to get them any place on the peninsula. This operation, we did manage to drop 20,000 paratroopers on the peninsula before any troops hit the beach. And on the way over, we had a squadron of B-24s ahead of us. They were dropping chaff. And this was to confuse the German radar. And when we got an initial point to turn in towards the peninsula, we passed through between the Channel Islands, Jersey and Guernsey. They're not far offshore of Cherbourg Peninsula there. And we picked up quite a bit of anti-aircraft fire. The B-24s ahead of us, they went straight on dropping the chaff. The chaff was just the metal flakes of stuff they dropped to confuse the radar. so they wouldn't see us turn in. But anyway, we did get a lot of anti-aircraft fire, but we were just out of range, staying between the two islands. We had been briefed that if we could manage a course exactly between the two islands, that the range of their guns on either side wouldn't affect us. And my duty on this mission, I'd been flying first officer all the time, but I was asked by Captain Shimmer to be his co-pilot on this mission, and when they briefed me, my uh, responsibility was to use the radar and give the green light, the amber light, the green light when necessary, ready. Anyway, we crossed the coast 400 feet using radio altimeter, and Shermer flew a real good flight. He kept it right on 400 feet over the ground. This is the lowest any paratrooper ever jumped. In training, we jumped 500-600 feet, but on this one, they wanted to shorten the time and for the paratroopers floating down. They knew they were going to get enemy fire. And also, one of my duties was to back up the navigators, do time and distance to the drop zone. So over the coast, I had to take a time check and then use time and distance to the drop zone. Well, the weather, it was a moonlight night, but we were under a solid overcast, and it was just as dark as it could be. There's no lights on the ground and no light coming from above. So we were actually flying instruments at 400 feet. And coming up on the drop zone, using the time only, I had already given the amber light. This is to alert the paratroopers in the back. And by the way, we had 18 members of the 81st Airborne, 82nd Airborne, rather. And in charge was a colonel, and he was an Indian. He looked like an Indian. And anyway, I learned later he got killed on the drop the first day. It's sad. But anyway, we're coming up on the drop zone, and I give the amber light. And I got 3 minutes now until I give them the green light. And when they get the amber light, the paratroopers in the back stand up and connect the shroud line. And it was just seconds until I had to give the green light when we got a break in the overcast. And there wasn't nothing but water down there. Here's a young kid up there with all this responsibility. What am I going to do? I jump them. If the water down there, they're all going to drown. And I didn't give a green light. And I don't know how long it was, probably less than a minute. When we got a break in the overcast, it was only a flash. And then it was dark again. But anyway, in a few seconds, a minute or so, we got another break, and I saw a building, and I gave the green light, and they went out. And later I found out we were only a couple of thousand yards off the edge of the drop zone. From there, we just flew straight on across the peninsula, back to our base.
The water was from, the water that you saw was flooded.
The water was, yeah, I learned later that the Germans had flooded that area, and there was a lot of paratroopers that did drown. So I'm glad I didn't give them the green light until then. But there was no ground fire. We encountered no ground fire. That's because it was a total surprise. The people behind the flights behind us took quite a few casualties. So we went back to base. I went home and our home had a little Quonset hut, held a total of 4 men. And I slept all day D-Day. So when people ask me what I did on D-Day, I said I slept all day. But that afternoon, well, things then began to get rough. That afternoon, Shermer came in. He was the squadron operations officer. He came in and shook me awake and said, "Clyde, how'd you like another mission tomorrow?" And I said, "Sure." That was just a nice way of saying, you got a mission. So that, I call it D-Day +1. Actually, we took off, well, I guess it was D-Day +1. We had a mission that there were paratroopers were cut off and they were out of ammunition and medical supplies and they wanted to resupply. So a 6-airplane mission had been set up and we had their location and our mission was to deliver the goods. I guess I better tell you something about this airplane we flew. It was a C-47 twin-engine airplane. The British called it the Dakota or the Goonie Bird. They had a lot of names, but it was really a workhorse. And it was primarily a cargo plane, although it had bucket seats down the side that folded up. It had a large cargo door on the left rear fuselage, large enough that we hauled jeeps and artillery pieces and whatever. Just put a ramp up there, drive the jeep right up in the cabin. But this day, we were on a resupply mission, and my airplane was loaded. There were 4 parabugs underneath that can be salvoed underneath the belly outside the airplane. They can be released electrically from the cockpit, and they weigh about 600 pounds apiece. In the cabin, there were 6 or 8 bottles that were also 400 to 600 pounds that were shoved out this cargo door. So that's where we were. On the flight line, the weather was so bad. It was less than 100 meters. When you breathe, you could feel the fog in your lungs. We couldn't even taxi without a jeep alongside the cockpit to show us which way to go. But it was a 6-ship formation, and I was flying as the first officer now on the right wing, the number 2 spot in the first 3-ship B.
You were in the left seat.
Yeah, I was in the left seat. I've been flying left seat all the time, but I was just devoted for the D-Day drop.